Hey, welcome back to Frank's Model Works. I'm Frank. I'm popping on midweek. A couple of things rose up from the body advice video that I made for Joe at Model Building Corner relating to the Revell 1969 Camaro. I want to clarify a couple of things. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing in this video is showing you different versions and boxings of Revell 69 Camaro throughout the years to see where the issue in the passenger side front fender well, where it started, how long it's been around. And I ordered some stuff based on a viewer's recommendation and something that I thought might be able to fix the issue. And we're going to try to fix this fender well issue because it's there. It's on my kit, it's on Joe's, and I've actually found it going back quite a ways in the lineage of the Revell 1969 kit. So we got to fix that. I also want to give an update on the 71 Mustang Mach 1. I did manage to prime it, but I still have a couple of issues with the body. I did find some sink marks that not sink marks. I'm starting already. I did find some ejector pin marks in here that I'm going to actually show you how to get rid of in this video. I'm going to go over actually several methods on both bodies to show you which one I prefer. Especially, listen, you don't have to take ejector pin marks out of the headliner. The odds of anybody ever seeing it, if you're ever at a model show and if you see somebody with a mirror, because they can't pick your model up, if you see somebody with a mirror trying to check that, take your models off the table and go home. You don't want to be there. That's not a healthy environment. You got some guy, that's the only way somebody's going to see it. So, grain of salt. But I'm one of those people that I like to address stuff like that. So, if you're like me, and like I always say, if you are like me, you have my deepest condolences. But if you're like me and you want to take care of something like that, I'm going to show you the method that I use and I prefer the most. I'm going to show you a couple of methods, but I'm going to show you which one I prefer, and it's actually the easiest one out of all of them. So, stick around. First, we're going to talk about the Mustang. We're going to have a few laughs. We're going to sing a couple of songs. And then we're going to talk about the Camaro. So, hang in there. Alright, well, I started priming the parts. I'm doing the body first because the body's going to be primed a lighter color than pretty much everything else. So, along with the body, I'm also doing the interior because that's going to be red. Priming is not just a basis for final coats of paint. It's also a way of you seeing something that needs to be addressed before you put on those final colors of paint, coats of paint. And one of those is going to be, I missed 2 ejector pin marks on these, what would these be? B-pillars? C-pillars? Sail panel? So right in here, there's 2 ejector pin marks that from the top won't be visible. Probably won't be visible from the side, but they could be. And I'll know they're there. And I like to know, more than anything else, that I took the time to address these things. It makes me feel better about the build. You know what I mean? So, that's what I'm going to be doing. You'll see me addressing that and then priming the outsides of my surfaces. So, I don't know if I'm going to pause or let it run, but we'll see. I'll talk to you in a minute. Alright, somebody had asked on my last video how I get rid of ejector pin marks. The answer is with a lot of obscenities. So if you see, the interior was primed. They were over here. There was one there, one there, one there, one there, one there. I don't know if you could see them on the camera, but I can definitely see them in person. They're less pronounced than they were, to be sure, but they are still visible somewhat. So what I had done with that was I had used Tamiya white putty You can thin this with like lacquer thinner to get it to a smoother consistency. I just slathered it on, waited for it to cure, and dried it. But now, I don't know if you can see this here, there's another ejector pin mark, which there's another one over here. Now, can you see this? Probably not, because I think this part, I don't know, I gotta look at my reference photo to see if this over here is gonna be red or if this is gonna be black. I don't know. So I'm gonna get rid of it anyway, because I should be a good boy. So I'm gonna start with 180 grit sanding stick. I prefer using sanding sticks rather than like a sheet of paper, because I like being able to hold on to it, and then I feel like I have more control. And if anything, that's my mantra, having control. So let's get in there and see what we could do. So as I'm doing this, now the ejector pin mark is gonna show more. It's gonna be easier to see. You can see the outline of it. It's like an oval. I understand that they serve a functional purpose, these the ejector pin marks, and companies do try to minimize where they're gonna be. I mean, at least they're not on the outside. Doesn't matter, I still hate them. Although it's not really an indication of the quality of the kit. As far as I'm concerned, it's you know, you need to have the ejector. That's how they pop the sprues out of the mold. I mean, that's ejector pin, that's what it means. So they're a necessary evil. It's just something we got to deal with. So now what this is telling us is that the primer that I'm using, and this is Splash Paint's dark gray surfacer, it's still in there. I think I probably would have lessened it, give it a little bit more work, see what we could do. Now, the thing with sanding is your roughest grit does the work, and then subsequent grits will, like the next grit that I'm going to use is, I'm going to probably jump to 400 and then maybe 600. What those grits are doing are erasing the sanding marks from the previous grits that I use. Like this 180 is doing the work, and everything after this is going to be restoring the surface. So that's the essence of sanding. I never, believe it or not, I didn't believe it when I first found out that the way that you achieve a super high gloss finish. I was probably in my early teens and maybe 12 years old when I saw somebody sanding a body to get, I'm like, what are they doing? I didn't realize that. But then again, at that point, you know, the only time I had ever seen anything sanded was wood. And I thought, like, my father sanded stuff in order to make it fit after he'd cut it. He wasn't doing it to polish. So, still got a low spot in here. But as you could see, hopefully you could see, the surfacer is disappearing. So once the surfacer is gone and I don't see the oval, then I can be reasonably certain that the ejector pin mark itself is gone. They are rough. These things are rough. that's gone. So at this point, I'll probably speed up the film. This way you're not too bored. And then we'll come back in. That is a particularly deep ejector pin mark right there, and I'm surprised that there isn't a sinkhole on the other side. Because that's got a low spot. You see that little bit of surface that's still there? Let me see if... right there. There's a little bit of surface, so that's a low spot. So I'm surprised that didn't actually cause like a sink mark over here. I bet you with later issues of this kit, that ejector pin mark eventually people are gonna complain about sink marks in this area because of that. So, all right. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna progress in my. Ooh. Don't go flying out of the mount there, Mr. Light. Okay. I'm gonna move to 400 grit to try to get rid of some of these sanding marks, and then I'll reprime this area. Then I'll prime the outsides, and I'll move on to black basing the rest of the parts. Everything, pretty much every other part in this kit, other than the body, is either going to be a metallic color, either flat black, semi-gloss black, or gloss black. So when I black base, which is basically priming it black, it's kind of a natural choice. So let me feather these in. So in this instance, I'm trying to erase the gouge marks of the 180 grit sanding stick. I don't have to go too nuts because this won't really be visible. But it's nice. It's good for the exercise. Let's get these gouge marks feathered. So before I prime this again, I'll hit this area with a tack rag to get these to get the sanding dust out of the way. I don't really need to rinse and wash the entire body for this. But if I find something that I need to address and sand when I prime the outside, then and I have to sand it down before I reprime it, I would wash it and let it dry. Yeah, this side, passenger side, was a lot harder to get than this one. This one was easier. And of course, right now, people are noticing that right there, there's still a little piece of ejector pin mark. I'm gonna lose sleep over it, but I'm gonna let it go. Just gonna let it be there. I know I'm a hack. I can sense the collective disappointment of all of you. right now. Look what you're making me do. There, you happy? All right, now, UMP buffer. Just to get some final smoothing on this. First thing I'll do is I'll use the other airbrush that I have over by the spray booth is cranked up to like 40 psi. So I'll blow this out first to get a lot of the dust out. You know, just to whip it up into the atmosphere so that it can later fall on the outside over here, especially during the clear coat process, said Frank sarcastically. Alright, so that's the sanding process to get rid of the ejector pin marks. So I'll bring you back over to the spray booth and oh, look at that. There's a little blemish in there. Maybe you could see it's right there by my finger. That little blemish. Stuff like that, believe it or not, can very easily cause sink marks on the body, on the outside. You got to be careful. You got to be real careful. Uh-oh. You know something, folks? I'm going to wash this. I'm going to continue sanding this. As I get closer, I'm seeing things I don't like, so I'm going to sand this a little bit more before I prime it. Notice in here, I don't know if you could see it. Turn the light away. Right here, in that panel line, there's a little bit of roughness to that edge, so I got to get my scriber out and work on that. So, where is the scriber? I literally just had the thing out the other day. Alright, hold on a second. Okay, I just realized that I'm like, why can't I see anything while I'm painting? My glasses are, I'm nearsighted, but I also need bifocals for like dashboard, far away kind of stuff. But up close, for reading and up close stuff, I can't wear glasses, I can't see a thing. So I'm wondering, I'm priming the body, I'm like, why can't I see anything? And I realized it's because I left my glasses on. Anyway, so we're going to take a tack rag. This is like basically cheesecloth that's it's got like a wax inside of it, and it pulls dust off of the body. They use it in like auto body shops. It's not supposed to affect you know, like you're not supposed to get fish eyes from it. I try not to use him too much or rely on him too much. The problem is this basement is really dry, and because it's so dry, there's a lot of like static cling, which is why there's so much dust down here. Plus I got a dog who, I mean, I love him, but he is mostly hair, and he's like half Shar-Pei, half Beagle, and he sheds constantly like little short hairs. They're like quills. Like if you're walking around the house barefoot, you get like one of his hairs, it'll stick right into your foot and it hurts. Frank, shut up and spray the frickin' body. You're asking yourself right now, did Frank forget to turn the fan on? Yeah. Sure did. I'll turn it on in a second. I like feeling a little woozy. Alright. So any dust that I'm knocking loose now is just, you know, it's going to accumulate on the outside of the body. I do have my crown on, like a good boy. I keep my crown on now so I don't hurt my needle. Okay. You're probably not going to be able to see this, but I did do a halfway decent job of getting rid of the ejector pin marks. Is that good? Yeah, they were there. And it was right there. I got rid of them. Amazing. God, I'm amazing. You guys are so lucky to have me. Alright, so I'm gonna mount this on this Tamiya stand. Tamiya, favorite brand I ever used, Tamiya. It's the fumes, folks. I'm sorry. I had a little 80s freestyle flashback there. You know, if you're a late 40s, early 50s young lady from the New York area, you know what song I was just singing. You know. And if you know, why are you watching this channel? What happened? What brought you here? But if you do, if just let me know if you know about that song. All right. Shut up, Frank. We got a lot of work to do, and it's late on a Sunday, and you want to relax before you have to go to bed and go to work in the morning. Might have mentioned a time or two I'm building Mustangs this year. It'd be nice, you know, if we could see how you fix the fender well issue. I have a job. This is a hobby. Just kidding. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to take a look at various boxings of the Revell 69 Camaro and try to see if I can pinpoint where in the lineage of this kit the problem with the fender well, the passenger side front fender opening, when it started and how it's progressing, because it's not looking good. The latest issue of the kit, which is this one, if you remember my last video, it's got a bit of a problem. You know what? Just get up there, and I'll talk to you when you're up there. Okay, so in my last video that I posted, helping out my friend Joe with the panel lines on the 69 Camaro, in Joe's video, Joe had discovered that there's a problem in this fender well right here. This is the passenger side front fender well. There's a problem with the shaping, and it looks almost as if there's a short shot going, either a short shot going on, or there's maybe damage to the mold itself, because the trim that goes around the lip is slowly but surely disappearing into the side of the fender. And I had said in that video, Ralph from the Muscle Car Modeler had mentioned, he would imagine that his version of this kit, this is the latest issue of the 69 Camaro from Revell, and that's what this body is from. So if Joe's had it and mine has it, it would be reasonable to assume that if you have the latest version, that your body probably has this issue too. So we have to figure out, first, how far back does this problem go? This kit, in one form or another, has been around for a very long time. I think I vaguely remember them coming out when I was maybe a junior or senior in high school, 1989 maybe. There was a Skips Fiesta version of it that was a Baldwin Motion. I think I mean I have all of the issues of this kit because I love this kit. It's just there's only so many I can get to without creating an avalanche, and it's going to be a problem. So let's set this to the side now. I did prime on the inside here. Part of this video is going to be ways of getting rid of ejector pin marks. So if you could see inside of there, in the headliner, there are ejector pin marks. And we'll go over different ways. Now, they really, I mean, there's the detail of the headliner goes right through the ejector pin marks in the back. There's really only so much you're going to be able to do. I would just sand this line off. I don't want to get distracted. Obviously, I'm very easily distracted, so we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, okay? The first issue I want to address is touch on with more detail how I find the panel lines. And I demonstrated in the last video how I do that. So I take the Sharpie from the side and I'll run them up. Now, like I said before, see how fat that is? The Sharpie stroke. So if you're getting really sharp like that, you're on a panel line. And this you can actually, once this body would be primed, you would be able to see it. Now, having experience with this kit, I know that the panel line comes down in here on the fender side of this panel line and then comes across the top of the fender and then comes down around here, and then it picks up again right here. So this is a panel line right here. This is an actual panel line. This is a mold separation line right here. So watch when I come down how thin that is. So you got yourself a mold separation line, and then it goes around. It comes inside at the edge, the inner edge of the fender well is where the panel line is. You come down, see how it's making a very thin line. Comes down that way, goes through the fender well here and around. Now, if you're wondering why, I'm putting all these marks with a Sharpie marker. You can remove Sharpie marker. Don't use lacquer thinner. It's because lacquer thinner, you run the risk of melting the plastic. To get Sharpie off, you could use mineral spirits. And before I get too far ahead, let me just get these. So if you do make an errant mark with your Sharpie, you can remove it. And again, just to reiterate, panel line, mold separation line. See how thin that is? Right there, very thin. Alright, so, and it goes over here. So, once you build one of these kits, you're gonna buy more and get more. It's one of Even though it's kind of old, it's still one of the best out there. So what do we have? White Spirit. White Spirit is mineral spirits. It's just kind of what they call mineral spirits in Europe, or more specifically England. It's more commonly called white spirit. White spirit is mineral spirits, which is a petroleum distillate, as opposed to turpentine, which is a wood oil distillate, and as opposed to a lacquer thinner, which is a combination of usually acetone, methyl ethyl ketone, toluene, and some form of alcohol. Why are you saying this, Frank? I don't know. Like I said before, I don't know why I say a lot of the things that I say. Anyway. Sharpie can be removed with a little bit of white spirit. Should take it off. Like it was never there, and it won't harm the plastic. It tends to be gentle, rather gentle stuff. So as you see, it takes it right off. So if you ever need to remove Sharpie from plastic, mineral spirits, white spirit, you could use mineral spirits from a big box store. That's fine. If you have an old can, I actually, somewhere, I have a can of Tester's paint thinner. Remember the red can? It's like this big. Hold on a second. Let me find it. Never mind. It's right here in front of me. This stuff. Enamel thinner. This is basically mineral spirits with a couple of proprietary additives. It should work. It should work for the purpose of removing Sharpie. Let's experiment and find out. I love that smell. Oh, that's one of my favorite smells in the world. Is this? I love that smell. That and charcoal barbecues. This smell just, yeah, look at that, it works. So you can use that also. See, we all learned something today. That's one more sniff before I put it away. Reminds me of my childhood. Okay, so now we found our panel lines. We discovered how we can remove Sharpie if we ever get it onto plastic. Now, let's go through the boxings of the kit. Going back, the earliest one that I could find easily was issued in 2005. So, this one right here, you see it's issued in 2005. It's open already. I don't know what's going on inside. Let's see what we got going on. Oh, great. I got a primed body in there. Who knows when this is from? Because there's no date on it. But, would you look at that? Now, let's see if we can... It's got a fully formed fender well with the trim is complete. Look at that. So I'm going to have this body up on the eBay. No, I'm just kidding. But this is good. Now, here's a body that we have an example to try to rectify the problem. I actually ordered some quarter round. I think it was Sid. Sid, you recommended quarter round to replicate the trim. And I also have half round coming. I think Sid, you're right. It might be quarter round. It might be better off to try to fix the problem. But here's a perfect way of, here's a nice comparison of the two. This is the well-formed wheel opening, and this one has the little chunk taken out. I don't know what's wrong with the mold. I don't know if it's being short shot. I don't know if there's damage to the mold. I don't know if Revell knows about it. I don't know Revell. They don't know me, so I don't know if they'll take me too seriously if I tell them. So if one of you guys is famous and is hooked up, let them know. Maybe they want to know, maybe they don't care. Who knows? So let's see. This was, I'm assuming this was 2005. I have another kit of this that has the date of 2005 on it, but it is, wait, where did it go? Oh, look at this. It's factory sealed. Oh man, that's too bad. Oh, it's factory sealed. What should I do? Of course I'm gonna open it. What, are you kidding me? What kind of show do you think I'm running here, kids? Of course I'm opening up a kit. Do anything for you guys. This one is also 2005. So let's see what we got going on in here. Yeah, that's okay. Take it out of the plastic and show them, Frank. You gotta commit. You gotta commit, bud. Want to quit your job and be a full-time YouTube content creator. Yeah, right. Like that's gonna happen. But you gotta commit. All the people who egged me on to do this right now are chuckling because they made, I can't believe I made this idiot open up his kits to go chase this squirrel. Yeah, that looks like it's okay. So 2005 is okay. Let's put that over there. I have another inner sealed 2005 boxing. Oh no, it's not inner sealed, is it? Yeah, it's inner sealed. And it's okay. No, it's not. Interesting. The plot thickens. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, because this was open, I might have switched these boxes around. But this definitely has the problem. It has the beginnings of it. You can see it over here. It's starting to have the beginnings of the problem. So I have a funny feeling, based on the condition of these tires, that I was doing something with this kit. So let's not mess around. The next boxing that I had that yellow boxing of the Yenko. This is dated 2011. Does anybody remember? This was the one that was in the last video, and this has kind of the beginnings of it, but not really. Definitely not as bad as the last body I showed. So, but I think this, oh kids, this is dated 2006, but I don't even know if, all right, let's go, whatever. This one is a 2011 boxing of, is it 2011? Yeah, 2011 boxing of the Baldwin Motion, which is not far. Baldwin Motion was not very far from where I'm, well, it's about a half-hour drive. All right, it's 2011. It's starting, but it's not, yeah, it's kind of, so this 2011 has got the problem. Not good. All right. Now, one more thing we need to take a look at is the convertible. This one is dated 2011. It's sealed. So, I would imagine it's obviously a different tool. One's a hardtop, the other's a convertible. But let's see if this problem carried over into the convertibles. does not look like it's on there. This looks okay. So look at that wheel well opening right there. That looks okay. It looks to be substantial enough that you could foil. It doesn't look obvious, like it's an obvious problem, like this over here. You know what? Now that I'm looking at this, let's get in here with a sanding stick. Well, let's grab this. No, let's grab this and take this down. Making a mess out of my desk for you fellas. And are you sharing? No, you're not sharing. Get more people to subscribe? No, you're just handing out orders. I kid. The immortal words of Don Rickles, I kid because I love. Alright, this is quick and dirty. I'm going to bring it all the way down. So, what are we looking at here? We're looking at, in this corner, there's a little piece of the mold that's either being short shot or there might be damage to the mold. Whereas you would have a well-shaped wheel well opening that has evenly sized trim that goes around. The trim over here tapers away almost to like a blob, and then it disappears, and then it's gone completely. So I think the plan of action is going to be, and it's not going to be in this video because I want to get this out, but the plan of action is going to be probably clean up this wheel well totally, get a real good job, and then I might sand off the trim that goes around, and then use quarter round like I believe it was Sid. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know what? Hold on a second. I want to make sure I'm saying the right name. Hold on. It was Sid. So I appreciate that. So I think we're gonna come in here. We'll try to get this trim back with quarter round. See how we do, and we'll use one of these bodies. I think I'll use the body that is already primed because I can see it better as a pattern to develop this and try to fix it. It looks like I have one more kit to look at, which I have a funny feeling probably has it as well. Let me put this, try to keep things organized. Okay, here's the ZL1, which I believe was one of the, I think there was a Yanko, Fast and the Furious Yanko before this one. So there was this one, then a Fast and the Furious Yanko, then this one. And then, what year was this? 2013? 2013? Yeah, so this one is 2013. So this is 11 years old. Let's see. Yeah, it's got it. It's got it. My dog agrees. My dog's name is Munson. Munson never shuts up. You know what he might be barking at? He might actually be barking because he hears me down in the basement, and he might have forgot that I'm home. And he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer, folks. Yeah, this has it. Is it as pronounced? It is kind of as pronounced. Yeah, it's basically the same problem. So the ZL1 has the same problem as the SS. All right, so at least now you don't have to pay top. These things were going for a king's ransom on the eBays not too long ago. And then I guess people wanted to get the dog dish and the Steelies or whatever, because I think that's the only difference. I don't know. You can get those elsewhere, kiddies. Personally, for that kind of stuff, I try to use, for factory stock builds, I try to use Fireball Model Works as much as possible. I love Mr. Osborne's work. I think it's fantastic. Actually, nowadays, most of the aftermarket resin guys are really good. Joel at Iceman, Josh at VCG. Who's at Texas 3D Customs? That gentleman's work is, or gentle lady, I believe it's a gentleman. His work is wonderful. So, I'm rambling. So what I'm going to do is shut up now, and then I'm going to try to find some things in order to get rid of these. But what you're going to find as I'm doing this, like, these seem to be raised. There's different types of ejector pin marks, and each one is its unique brand of annoying. Wow, this one is so annoying. Look at how it actually, there's the line for the headliner going through. I guess that would be a bow, and it's like crooked inside the. Wow, that is extra special annoying. All right, let's hold on. I'll go get my stuff, and I'll make you all happy. Stand by. Be right back in a second. I should just end the video here just to annoy you guys. Okay, first up is going to be what your options will be if the ejector pin hole is recessed. If it's recessed, you're going to have to fill it with something. You have a choice. You could fill it with putty, or you could fill it with a disc of plastic. Or you could also fill it with CA glue. That the problem with that is that it's CA. Once that stuff cures, it's hard to sand and you're going to lose a lot of detail. But there are some instances where you might be willing to sacrifice the detail if maybe you're just going to add the bows again later. So, you have to weigh your options carefully. Now this particular body, the recessed ejector pin marks over here it's almost as if they're slightly deep, but there's like a raised ridge around them. So this is just an extra special pain in the neck to straighten out. But we'll give it a shot. I went ahead and I measured the diameter of these marks, and they are coming in at around 7.37 millimeters. I'm gonna call that 7.5. We're not making precision engine parts that have to operate. We're trying to fill in ejector pin marks. So, close enough. Close enough is good enough, especially for a spot that's not going to be super highly visible like here. So in order to do that, for something that's that big, 7.5 millimeters, you're outside the scope of a punch set. Like this one only goes up to 6 millimeters, which would be, it would be close, but it's not really going to work very well. It's not going to fill the hole, but I'm going to show you how it works anyway. So the thing I don't like about this set, and I got this set from UMM USA, it's a high quality set. It's just that the dies that you don't want to fall out. And I'm trying to get these out of the way so that I can hit this with the hammer. By the way, this is 0.010 thickness sheet styrene. If you have a model and the ejector pin marks are more than 0.010 deep, just throw the model in the garbage. Save yourself the trouble. I'm just kidding. But usually it's not going to be more than that. And worst case scenario, you could stack them. But no, definitely throw it in the garbage. All right, so trusty hammer. This is available on the UMM USA website. John Wojtek, he has a really cool website. You can get into a lot of financial trouble on that website buying tools. Ask me how I know. So, hit it with the punch. This is your little piece. Here goes Munson, wondering why I'm hammering things. Like, you would think he would want to come down here. He never wants to stay down here. He just wants to bark. He hears voices, and he thinks somebody's in the house. It's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. So that's a 6mm. I cut this one out previously using this tool right here, the DSPIAE. DSPIAE. Find out what you mean to me. I'll see myself out. You know what? I'm not going to take up your time by putting that crap away. Do that later. Okay, another set. This is also available. This is by RP Tools. It's also available on the UMM USA website. It goes up to it only goes up to 2mm, so it's not really going to be useful in this application, but you would unscrew these two screws, slip the sheet styrene in there, get in there. Okay, you would open it up further. And it's stuck together. It actually happens a lot, believe it or not. The acrylic sticks to this, and you'd screw this down, you stick the die in, hit it with the hammer. This hammer actually comes with this set, but it's also useful for the other set that I used. Okay, failing that, if you need a larger diameter circle, you're gonna need one of these circular cutters. These are actually these are precision instruments. I forget what I paid for this, but it wasn't a ridiculous amount of money. But I found it useful. Like I said, I also build like model airplanes and tanks to cut out masking tape in order to mask off wheels and stuff like that. I find it very useful for that. But we can use it in car modeling. I'm sure there's a lot of, we could use circles in cars. It's cars. There's a lot of circles in cars. All right. So what you would do now, like I said before, I measured the diameter of the ejector pin mark, and it was roughly 7.5mm. So you don't plug in 7.5mm into this, because you're going to make a 7.5 diameter circle by doing that, and that's too big. So you want to cut that 7.5mm and use the radius, which would be 3.75, is that parochial school education kicking in on the spot. Sister Adele would be proud. All right, so 1, 2, 3 is 3.5, and I'm gonna go between 3.5 and 4. And whatever you do, don't put the blade in while you're trying to adjust this, because it hurts. So this gets real. It's a little difficult to juggle this. Why is this not screwing in now? Oh, for the love of Pete. Alright. This is not the easiest tool in the world to learn, by the way. But once you figure it out, it's not that bad. I don't use it very often, but I just had a heart attack. I looked at the screen on the camera and I'm like, did I not hit the record button? But I did. So you're listening. Alright, so very carefully tighten that down. Now you notice there's an arrow, so you're going to rotate it that way. And then you're going to take one of the blades, pops in here. Be careful because it's sharp. And then you pull there's a spring. You pull that spring and that actually cinches it, so it'll hold it in. It's actually not falling out. And then you put this down and you turn this in this direction, and you get embarrassed because it's probably not going to work because this guy is an idiot. So watch as I fail. Well, I'll be. It worked. So you see that? That little feller right there. And theoretically, if I measure this, this should be close to the 7.5 millimeters. It's not. It skipped. Of course it did. It's 8.5 because it probably shifted. Yeah, it's 8.5. So try again. Buy lots of 0.01 thickness styrene because you'll be going through it a lot. Yeah, it did. I did. It does come with a Allen key to tighten this. Blade fell out, didn't it? Of course it did. Why wouldn't it fall out? Somebody remind me why I started this again? I'm not talking about this episode. I'm talking about this channel. Now, naturally, this doesn't fit. That's too big, and this one is too small. Yeah. Let's see if we can get that to work. They're not going to include a key for that because it theoretically should be hand tight. Whatever, let's try it again. Alright, I can see that this is smaller. The best part is, I'm going to go through all of this trouble and I'm going to get my insights from YouTube, and they're going to say, on this video, 95% of your view is crapped out at 3 minutes. So I'm doing this for absolutely nothing. So it kind of fits in there. This is still too big. You got no choice. I find this a lot with this thing. That's why I don't like using it that much. It tends to lose the, you get one cut out of it and then it starts skipping around, and it's just, I don't like it, but it works. People are, it's me. It's definitely, it's me. It's not the instrument. It's definitely me. Put it right on 3. This was actually the first one that I cut, which is almost perfect in size. So, is that the one? Or is that the 6mm? No, that's the... And I'm getting confused. I gotta stop making videos during the work week, because I am exhausted, and I'm trying to do this right now. This one's going to be closer to 6. Alright, there we go. 7.45 millimeters. So this one should just about fit in there. So this would be if you have a fairly recessed ejector pin mark. Put that. You glue that in there, wait for it to dry, and then sand it down. You're gonna lose detail. It's just part of the game. You might be better off getting the small piece of styrene strip to recreate the bows, and maybe even use wire. Or you could do like I showed you on this body, which is going to be elsewhere in this video. You know this body, it's like the actual model I'm actually building before I took this little sidetrack. You could just sand them off. So I'm going to show you how to do that again, because these are definitely worse than the ones that were on the 71 Mustang. So let's get in here with our 180 grit sanding stick. We're gonna obliterate this one right here. Let's see if you could see that. Probably put that away. So if you use the filling method, I'm going to first get rid of this one using sanding again, because I already did it on the Mustang, but I want to show you that it's possible to get it done by just sanding it. Keep in mind, you're sanding up against the body. Sanding creates heat. You could create warpage. You could burn through, and So keep that in mind. It's not likely. I'm sure the plastic is fairly thick over here. I probably can't get the caliper on it. No, it's not. It's about 2 millimeters thick there, but even still, you could create warpage or a sink mark or a witness on the body that you're then gonna deal with later. So you gotta weigh. You have to weigh it if it's worth the trouble. Digging yourself a bigger hole to dig out of. Kind of like starting a YouTube channel. I kid. I kid because I love. Like I said before, sanding, you start with the coarsest grit you possibly can that will accomplish the task you need to do, and remove whatever needs to be removed with it. And if it means you got to start with 180, then you start with 180. Ejector pin marks, you probably got to start with 180. I believe these are 220, these blue ones. So I started with 180. I'm trying to finish it because there is no coarser one of this, but this is getting into a tight spot. So that I can't get into it with this. There is another tool. I got to see if I can find it, but I've basically stopped using it. It's called a fiberglass pen, and that's the nuclear option if you're trying to remove something. But it creates such gouges that you basically are going to scar the surface for good. I'll see if I can find it if I take a break at some point. Because now that I've mentioned it, if I don't show it, I'm going to go, oh, I wish you would have shown us the fiberglass pen. But then again, nobody's going to make it to this part, this deep into the video. So it's good. I'm talking to myself anyway. That's gone. This isn't something that you want to use, like I wouldn't use a grinder or something like that, because like I said, once you're introducing heat, and you're going to introduce a lot of heat with a grinder, it's going to show on the outside and you're going to have a problem. So now you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? Look, that's one. And there's 4 of them. And this would be worse if I... Hold on a second. I'm going to find the fiberglass tool, if I can. And then I'm going to fill one of these with CA glue and hit it with the accelerator. And then I'm going to put some putty in the other one. And like the... Even put, all right, just hold on a second. I'll talk to it when I get to it. All right, I can't find the fiberglass pen. I think I threw it out because it was really I just didn't like it. It placed really heavy gouges that no amount of sanding could ever, at least me, you know, of course there's going to be the guy in the comments that said, yeah, I love that thing, you know. Good. Can't wait to see your video on it. Anyway, so I put a little disc of sheet styrene in this ejector pin hole. I'm about to put a little bit of CA glue in here with some kicker to show another option. So this is a micro brush. I'm sure you're all familiar. These are tattoo cups, tattoo ink cups. I use them. I put a little bit of thick CA in there so that it doesn't run. Pick it up with the micro brush and I apply it to the hole. I'll then take another micro brush. I got some kicker over here. Now the downside to this is going to be that it's not going to dry. You could let this cure like that, but even if you cure without kicking it, it's not gonna be a flat surface. You know, it'll be bumpy. So I'll put the kicker on. And this is really, I would consider my least favorite option to be that fiberglass pen. Those things, I don't like them. This would be my second least favorite. My third least favorite would be the disc, although it's still doable. I would prefer to just sand it to get rid of it, and then progress through grits in order to get to a smooth surface that's presentable, and then restore any detail that I lost in the sanding process. These hoops, you know, you could probably just replace that with wire, I guess. I'll cross that bridge at some point, not in 2024 when I built this kit. And my second favorite option would be to use putty. Your mileage may vary. This is the basic type, then there's the white type, then there's the basic type is gray, the white putty is, I'm not going to do that to you, it's not nice. Where did my white putty go? That's a good question, because I use that on this and it is not where I left it. Hold on a second. Okay, found it. So this is to me a basic type. This tends to be a little bit coarser. It's gray in color. They're both can be thinned with lacquer thinner to get a smoother consistency. To me, a white putty is generally finer. Given the choice between the two, I would usually go with white, but I try not to use putty as much as possible. I also try not to use, there's a Mr. Color product, which I don't know what the hell happened on this desk, but nothing is where it was. So, you could use something called sprue goo, where you take a little bit of extra thin cement, or their airbrush cleaner, because it's basically the same liquid. And in one of these bottles, you drop in pieces of sprue and let it melt, and you're basically creating a putty. The problem with using any type of solvent-based putties is the longer it takes them to dry. Like paint, lack of paint dries quickly, so you don't really have to worry that much. But as far as a lacquer solvent-based putty, it takes longer to dry. The longer it's on your model, the more you risk affecting the plastic. So like I said before, to sand, to get rid of these ejector pin marks, you have to weigh the benefits versus the risks. What would you rather have? A really nice headliner or a really nice roof? So the easiest way to get rid of the ejector pin marks while risking the least amount of problems would be to sand them off by hand with the coarsest grit that you think is necessary. And that's a judgment call that you have to get through experience. And like I said before, when I did the video on materials I use for cleanup, sanding sticks are subjective. They change by brand, from one brand to another. So I bought these off of Amazon, and then I might generally use a different grit from UMP than I would use for this, even though to my finger they feel the same. They feel exactly the same. Right. You know what I mean? So that's what. Oh, I just got called to dinner. So that would be something you have to take in mind. There is no. I can't give you a magic pill for removing these things. I can only provide you with a little bit of direction to try to go, and I'll let this stuff dry, and I'll sand it down. Let me put the putty on, and then I'm gonna go eat din, and I'll come back and see how we stand. Okay, so that's about all I'm going to spend on the ejector pin marks. The factors that you have to take into consideration are the space allowed. Like, can you actually get in here and sand these things down? Will they be visible? Is it worth the risk of harming the outside of the body? With all of that in mind, my recommendation for getting rid of the ejector pin marks in the headliner of your model car would just be to use the coarsest sanding stick that you have that you think will get the job done reasonably based upon whatever type of sanding stick that you use. Sand it down until it disappears, and then use progressively finer grits until you remove your sanding marks, and then restore any detail that you lost in that process. Now, as far as the putty would be my second best option to fill in holes if they're recessed. But even that, just try to use it very sparingly. Don't glob it in there, because you could also affect the outside depending on the type of if you use solvent-based putty like Tamiya. If you use water-based putty, it could be porous and not react well with whatever paint you put on top of it, so be sure to test it first. I don't have any water-based putty, so I can't tell you one way or another. Bondo, I would test first before you use it. Now, as far as using CA is up here in this corner. It'll work, but it's going to require a lot of work to get that down. And same thing with the filling it with styrene and then sanding it down. It's a lot more work. And keep in mind, it's not just the headliner detail. You're sanding in proximity to these lines right here, where the glass is going to mount. If you mess those lines up, you mess up those surfaces. Now you're digging yourself out of a hole, because you're going to have the trim might be uneven. You got to really weigh whether or not it's really worth it for that reason, my recommendation would be to just sand it. Now, by all means, use CA in places where you can get to it and you're not going to do any damage. If you can get to a part, like say like an oil pan or something, and you can get to it, yeah, use CA, use putty, use styrene discs, use whatever you have to do. But it's the things that you have to weigh is the benefits over the risks. So, and in the case, there are some cases where you might have a raised ejector pin mark if they didn't, who was it that used to do that all the time? Because if they didn't use enough mold release, the ejector pin itself would get stuck and it would pull the pin out. You'd have a raised ejector pin mark, and you'd have like a sinkhole in the plastic on the outside. You see it a lot with older kits. I think it might have. I'm not even going to say the name because I don't feel like dealing with neckbeards in the comments. But the key takeaway for this, if you're gonna take the ejector pin marks out of the headliner of your model car, my recommendation, based on my experience and based upon what I've tried to demonstrate to you here, my recommendation would be to just sand them, and then sand them till you get yourself a nice surface, and then restore whatever detail you lost. Try to avoid, destroying any detail, because you're just gonna have to add it back later. Or, some people just leave them, or try to minimize them. Whatever's gonna work out best for you. But between this body, which I'm going to keep this body. I probably won't use this body on a kit because I've done a pretty good job of messing it up. But I am going to try to figure out a way to fix this issue and then let you guys know what I did. So stay tuned for that. But as far as, I'm not building a 69 Camaro anytime soon. Like I've said, I'm working on Mustangs this year because it is the 60th anniversary of the Mustang. So as far as this one goes, there were segments on this body earlier. So we did manage to get rid of the ejector pin mark in here, and on this side, same thing. Now, as far as the ejector pin marks that were in the headliner, I did for the most part minimize them. They're not super visible. They're still there, but it would be really difficult for anybody to see that. I did find, and like I was saying before, primer is not just a preparation for paint. It lets you see issues that you might have before you put on your final color coats. So now I have mold separation lines that I got to work right here. I got to work those on this side. And I have some panel line issues that I got to work on in here. So those will have to be worked and finessed before I do a final prime before. And there might be subsequent primes in between, spot primes, to see how I'm doing. I got a little schmigaggy in there that I got to work out right here at the fender crease. So there's still work to do, but we're getting there. Barring any side quests. So I'm going to put you back on the tripod and talk to you. And if you're still here, wow, you're amazing. All right, hold on. All right, so we had ourselves a little side quest, and I don't think the side quest is over yet because we still got to fix the fender well on this, but we will do it. I get the stuff coming. We still got some work to do before we can do a final prime and color on the 71 Mustang Mach 1. But this really looks like a beautiful kit. This really looks gorgeous. And I am having fun with it, which is all that matters, really. So we had to address some issues. Hopefully those are addressed sufficiently to the liking of the people. I honestly, if you're still watching this, I love you. You see, this is because I don't even want to watch this video. But I started with this to help out my paisan Joe at Model Building Corner, and I hope I help. I hope it helps anybody that's working on a 69 Camaro. And if you have, it looks like anything from the ZL1 forward, from 2013 forward, you have the problem that this thing has. So stick around. We'll figure it out. I'm not building a 69 Camaro anytime soon. Thought I made that clear. But you know, I'm glad to help. So, as always, I appreciate your support. Like I said, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you. I appreciate that. And as always, my friends, until we speak again, take care of yourselves and be well. But stop with the side quests. I'm just kidding. Anything you need, anytime you need help, let me know. Take care.